Chapter 2 of the McDougall Program for Maximum Weight Loss is coming at you today. Now, today, we're going to not only dive into this chapter, we're going to cook a summer salad, and we're going to look at our options. Because really, when it comes down to, it's more so about, oh gosh, what's going on here? I'm in stereo mode here. Okay, we're back. Wait, why am I in stereo mode? Fail. Hang on. Here we go. Oh boy. Okay, we're going to deal with this, yes? Apologies. Okay, when it comes to our health. Oh boy, all right. Today we're going to do a green salad, and it is from page 244. And what I love about this is that it is very versatile. So let's open this up. Let's get going on this. But when it comes to our health, it really is about our options. And our options are many when it comes to losing weight and dropping weight. And we're going to discuss that today and review what John McDougall talks about when it comes to all of that stuff. So, recipe, all of our options, and dealing with the power of hunger. And today the message is really to honor our innate wisdom. What is that innate wisdom, you ask? We'll talk about that as we cook. So here's 2 zucchinis. This is a grain salad, and today we're using barley. Now barley, I got at Whole Foods in these tiny little packs. When you go to the Asian grocery store, though, they come in large packs, much cheaper. I won't make that mistake again and just go to Whole Foods for this, but you'll see how nice and dry and cute that is. The sound is just kind of making me a little bit bonkers. Let me try to fix this. Adrian, if you're there, can you let me know if the sound is okay? I'm hearing like a double thing, but here we have dried barley compared to cooked barley. The cooked barley doubles in size, cooked and dry. Yum, so good. So here we're copying Mary's recipe exactly. We've got 3 cups of cooked barley. So it'll double in size. So you only need 1.5 cups dried. Do this ahead of time. I've let it cool off a little bit. And let's go. Second on the list, 2 medium zucchinis, halved and sliced. When you look at the bottom of the zucchini, this one looks a little fresher than this one, right? So when you're shopping for them, this is what I look for. We just look like, touch it. If it's not too soggy, obviously, that's a good sign. Even though this one doesn't look as pretty as this one, don't matter. We're just going to trim the tops. These are huge zucchinis, so I might just do one. Now, Mary says to half it and then slice it. I'm actually going to quarter it. What I love about this recipe is that it is raw zucchini. And if you've never tasted raw zucchini before, it doesn't need a dip. It's so delicate and so nice. Well, that was easy. Now, if you want them in smaller chunks, obviously you can do that. We'll do a bit of a chunky salad today. My daughter is laughing at me. Next on the list, 2 cups of frozen corn. I have my frozen corn. I just got it in a bag. Put it in 2 cups. Ta-da! was easy. I got some specific people in mind for this salad who complain about cooking. Okay, we've got scallions, quarter cup. I'm going to guess that's about 2 of these. Let's just give them a nice rough chop. If you don't like chopping, you despise it, you can just use scissors. So I've already washed this. Okay, into our salad bowl. Pop that all in. Okay, now what do we need? We need some basil. We need some fresh herbs. I like to pack my fresh basil in some water. Oops, like this. Now I've already washed the basil and let it dry, the leaves. So I could just keep it fresh like this. Smell that. Yum. And then Mary says a quarter cup packed. Packed, people. So if we use this, a quarter cup packed, I'll show you what packed means. So this is already at the quarter cup mark, but of course it's not packed in. So we got to really embrace that word, pack. And we're going to delicately push all of our basil down. And if I push it down, that's a quarter cup. Now let's give this a nice, delicate chop. Roll this baby up. You can hand tear it if you'd like. I really got to sharpen my knife. Is that it? Oh my gosh. That's it. That's it, party people. Wasn't that easy? So let's give this a mix. And now we just have to dress it. Now I haven't even salt and peppered it, which I always do with my salads. But let's see how this goes. It looks very pretty already. But obviously we need to dress this baby. So we're going to look at our dressing. Okay. What's this? All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Quarter cup of plus 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. Okay, so today we have this beautiful thing. This is balsamic vinegar, quarter cup. I'm gonna pop it in here. I never noticed that these actually have measurements. So where's my quarter? Let's just do our best here. I'm gonna say that's a quarter. Okay, what's next? 3 tablespoons of Dijon, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of nooch. There's no salt or pepper. So this is an oil-free dressing. 3 tablespoons of Dijon, any kind of Dijon. I'm not even going to use a real tablespoon measurement because that's just how we do things around here. It's adorable maple syrup from Canada. And this is the beauty of these types of recipes. It's really not a lot of prep. My only real prep was making the barley. And that literally consisted of just putting barley into a rice cooker, and that's it. Now, what I love about this recipe also is that it's including something sugary. Now, we're going to learn that sugar is not our enemy. Good morning, Adrian. Can you let me know if the sound is okay? Do you hear a weird echo? A sound check? Okay, so we've got balsamic vinegar, we have some Dijon mustard, we have some maple syrup. I should get my little huge baking whisk. And we're going to do a little tiny bit of nooch. It's like a teaspoon. Nooch has B12, but we do take a B12 supplement because B12 fortified foods, it may not, get absorbed. Take this off. Ooh, powerful. Good morning, Adrian. I thought of you this morning because I thought there's a little feedback, but not too bad. Okay, I'm just going to go with it. There's always something. There's always something, but we just got to go with it, right? Just like any kind of a health journey, it's not going to look perfect. In fact, it's probably going to look really messy because of the reasons that we're going to go over today, but it's going to be great. So here we go. Let's dress this baby. No, sweetie. Mix this up. Now immediately, I love how the dressing is coating the salad. I'm salivating. Looks really good. It smells delightful, and it's so summery. Thinking about you, Adrian, because I was thinking like, oh, zucchinis are in season, or maybe they're not. But you're a farmer, you grow things. Now, normally I would, of course, add salt and pepper to this, maybe even some chili flakes. But let's taste test first. So here it is. Maybe it could use something a little red. But let's try. That is so good. It's very sweet. I typically with salad dressings, I'm not a sweet person, but that tiny little bit of maple syrup coated this whole thing really nicely. It actually doesn't need salt, and I'm a salt fiend. It doesn't need pepper, although if we like pepper, add it. But the reason why it doesn't need salt is because it's got that acidity. It's got the bounciness of that barley. The raw zucchini is just so lovely in here. I'm not going to put my dirty spoon in here. The fresh basil is so good. You could also do cilantro. We could also do dill. That would also be excellent. You could literally mix all of those up. Maybe just the basil, the dill, and the parsley. And that is a beautiful holy trinity of fresh herbs. And that is it. That's it. That's so easy. So all you got to do is put your fresh herbs away. Clean up a tiny, tiny bit, and then you're done. Now, this is supposed to be 4 servings-ish. Maximum weight loss journey. According to the McDougalls, we can eat whenever we want, as much as we want. So this is about half and half in terms of a starch and a non-starchy vegetable. So lots of zucchini. I could add more. I've got this guy to add, but I just kind of like the look of this. I always prefer a little more grain or starch compared to the non-starchy veg. So this is a very nice ratio. Now I am looking for something red here only because we are visual eaters. So like cherry tomatoes would be absolutely perfect in here, make it even more summery. Ooh, you know what is also adding that sweetness is the corn. I don't normally cook with a lot of corn, so that is that surprise ingredient. So that is good. All right, so I'm give this a 5 out of 5. It's so easy. And when I have to meal prep on Sundays, when I actually do that, my version of meal prepping is just cooking my starch. So I just get a bunch of starch ready to go. It's in the fridge. It's just there when you need it. And then if I have to put put together a meal, all I got to do is focus on my non-starchy veg, cook up some greens, and we're done. Okay. All right. So today, this video is dedicated to Bettina. Thank you, Bettina. Lovely to meet you here in the comments section, as well as Bob. Now, both of you, um, Adrian, looks good. I made something similar. Yummy. Let us know how yours is a little bit different. Bettina, who are my people? I look at my stats and I see that I've got a few more McDougallers. The age range has jumped and shifted from my age range closer to John's age range. And I'm honored to welcome you here to our channel to talk about the work of this great doctor that we love, that we miss, that has given us so much. And our job, as somebody else wrote, is to continue his message. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at delicious food. We're going to continue to look at the message, and we're going to learn. Now, in this chapter, we're looking at chapter 2. It's called The Power of Hunger. And all that really means is we're going to honor your innate wisdom. What is your innate wisdom? It is hunger. And why does he have a whole chapter dedicated to this? Because many people in the diet culture, as soon as you think about losing weight or getting healthy, you probably think of restriction. And if we think of restricting food, we are first of all sad and depressed because we can no longer eat our favorite foods. That's not the case forever. And B, we think that we have to starve. We think that we have to learn how to control our hunger and not quench that deep innate thirst that we have for food. John's whole point is that's absolutely not the case. In fact, the power of hunger is so powerful that it will always win. So he talks about how we try to fool Mother Nature. Now, if we go on a typical diet, and we're going to look at these, okay, number one is diet. That is one option that we can take in terms of getting healthy. We're losing some body weight that we've amassed on. So when it comes to diet, typically we think very restrictive, right? There are crazy amounts of diets out in the marketplace and have been for all of time. Apparently, how we should optimally eat as humans has always been a topic of discussion throughout human civilization. So number one, when we look at these crazy diets, if they seem credible, if they're not going to hurt us, then John, even in his last live, recommended that we give it a shot because we have to always test. We have to always experiment because we are each a little bit different, and what's going to work for one person may not work for another. However, many of these diets are really extreme, right? So we want to look at something that's not extreme. The problem, though, with typical diets, as John will say, typically we will rebound and we will end up eating even more and therefore put on even more weight. And so many people who are chronic dieters, they will experience this, of course, right? So what is the bad part is that a diet will be bad if it's extreme. And if it's not going to fit in with your lifestyle, right? Dog is so distracting. And my daughter is also running around. But if we find a diet temporarily that is going to just sort of snap us out of it, because when we are eating these really rich foods constantly, like let's say one of my bad or good habits is pizza and wine. Pizza, very high calorie dense. Maybe there's cheese on it. I don't personally eat animal protein, but if I do, whatever, it's there. It's kind of seen as a junk food, right? Wine, the health gurus say, like, we should actually never drink. So if you are watching this and you are part of my crowd, which is the party crowd, welcome. When I think about eating this way and eating healthy foods and getting this stuff into us, you know who I think about is I think about us partiers. And I think, have you been smoking for decades? Have you been not moving your body for decades? Do you drink maybe a little too often? You don't have to tell me. I'm not your priest. I'm not here for your confessions. But I just think, especially for like our people, we need these phytonutrients into our bodies like regularly. So I think that if a diet is going to snap us out of that very ultra rich kind of way of living and just taking a breather, I am a huge proponent of that. Now, at the end of the video, stick around because I am going to show you how we can temporarily hit pause and have just completely different results when it comes to our life trajectory. You might feel like you've been suffering for a long time with health issues, and I'm here to help you as best as I can. And so I will tell you more about that at the end of the video, okay? Now, number two, John says that when we try to fool Mother Nature on page, only on page 18, we try to use our willpower. Willpower to stay away from our favorite foods. But the thing with the hunger is that it will always win because it is so strong. Even if I go into a fasting state and the ketones are running strong and it's suppressing my hunger, eventually, of course, I'm going to have to eat. And again, anyone who has tried to do this for a certain period of time, you know that that hunger is going to win. John's point is let that win. The hunger is there to keep us alive. It's a good thing. Number three, there's drugs, medications. He says in his book, as we all know, there are lots of side effects, especially when we are on them for a really long time. We're talking decades. Decades of being on a certain medication might lead to new physical issues that we would not otherwise have if we did not have those meds. Now, John was 77 years old when he passed away, and he was on no medication. He had a massive stroke when he was 18. He has said, other people who are stroke experts say that he should probably not have made it to see his 30th birthday, but he did. He lived 55 more years. Ruby. Anyway. This is a problem with lives and being a mom. Having two kids in the house. But with medications, John says lots of side effects. Some of them will include things like nervousness, anxiety, restlessness, irritability, insomnia, dizziness, stomach problems, and dry mouth. This is only on page 19. You know he's going to scare us more throughout the book. We're only on page 19. Of course, there are all of the weight loss drugs like the Ozempics of the world. There's a new one that came out, which is apparently a little more effective. However, we do those side effects. It may increase our chances of developing thyroid cancer, and it may lead to stomach paralysis. Stomach paralysis. Now, when I read that, it terrifies me because when our bodies are shutting down, one of the things that can happen is, our GI tract will tend to get a little paralyzed, depending on, I suppose, what we are passing away from. But it just doesn't seem good. It hurts my heart thinking about that. So I think that the drugs, I always think of like the verb, the drugs don't work. Like, do the drugs work though? Sometimes we need the drugs, of course, right? So drugs, maybe they don't work, but I'm going to say that temporarily using them when they're temporary is a very good thing. I think that is a plus. So I'm going to put it on the plus category. Willpower, we already know. It don't work. So if we try to sustain anything with willpower, some people have excellent willpower. David Goggins, is that his name? People like that. Marines, I don't know. You, perhaps. But John's point is like most of us, we can't white knuckle things. And some of my favorite psychologists, like Scott Barry Kaufman's of the world, he will say like that's just not a good strategy to give to your client because more than likely they're going to fail and they're going to feel terrible about themselves. All right, number 4 is going on what we call in the world a low carb diet. When we compare the diet wars, there is the low fat, which is the McDougallers, right? It's not no fat, it's low fat. And then the carnivore keto people will say low carb. But if you are not low fat, you are high fat. So that's another way of phrasing it. You're either low fat or you're high fat. High fat is also low carb because carbs, when we're talking about whole carbs, like this barley, like zucchini, like fruit, very, very low in fat. And that combination with other things will help us drop any kind of excess body weight. Now, for number 4, I put meat sweats. And I just think of eating a lot of meat. And when I think of eating a lot of meat, I think of like hitting the Korean barbecue restaurants. And inevitably, there's always somebody who tends to say, like, I'm not feeling very well. The meat sweats, they're starting to sweat, their body is reacting. And I really encourage you, if you experience these things after eating whatever food, just try to take notice of it, be aware of it. I remember being in a meeting with a new colleague and he was eating something cheesy. We were with a client, so I didn't say anything at that point, but he started getting really stuffed up. So his voice started changing. He seemed a little uncomfortable. I asked him later, like, does he have like a dairy intolerance? He's like, no, I'm fine. But I literally saw his body react to the dairy. So if we're having meat sweats, I mean, for me, I also have a very strong sense of smell. And so when people eat a lot of whatever, what have you, what's interesting is that I can smell that. When I first changed my dietary patterns and I learned about this, I will tell you, like, so much came out of my skin and my body. And I smell things. I know this might be too much information, but I started running to try to sweat things out a little bit, try to get on the healthy lifestyle. And as I sweat, probably for a couple of weeks, I smelled sour milk. Sour milk. I ate so much cheese. I could easily live off of cheese, bread, and wine. But all of that cheese was working itself through my body. And now when my friends are sitting there at Korean barbecue having the meat sweats, some of my friends, I can literally smell them. I can smell that sour milk smell. I know they eat a lot of cheese. I can smell it. Sometimes that's something that we can keep in mind and be aware when it comes to ourselves. One day you're having a really stinky day. It might be stress, of course, but more often than not, it's what we're putting into our bodies. I used to be fascinated when we first had our baby. I would think, like, I don't know why she smells like sugar. She just smells like sugar. My husband, he smells like sugar. Like their skin just smells good. And when I really think about that, if we're eating a lot of vegetables, fruit, whole carbs, glucose that's coming into our body is turning into glycogen, and that is literally sugar. I think that makes sense as to why certain people smell sweet. And this emanates throughout everything. So it's not just our skin, it is our breath, it is everything. So I won't get super graphic, but everything that is detox excreted from the body, that smell will change. I'll tell you a quick story. I hosted a group fast in March. Another one is coming up, so stick around till the end of the video and I'll share more details. But in the last group fast, we had a participant who was just beautiful. She has never not eaten meat. So she loves meat, she loves cheese, and she consumes a lot of it every single day. Now, she was really afraid of going into this fast because we don't have any meat or cheese for 5 days. It's just 5 days. Actually, six days minimum. And she was amazed at the quality of her number twos. She said that not only was it coming out real fast and easy, but the smell disappeared within like seconds. And I said, well, yeah, that's what it's like. When you got to go, you just go to the restroom, you do your thing, it's really fast, and the smell evaporates very quickly versus the smell sticking around for a long time or you just having a hard time on the throne. Anyway, so when it comes to the meat sweats and using this as an option for weight loss or getting healthy, when it comes to keto, I'm not even going to touch on carnivore, but I'm very happy to hear that carnivores believe that fruit is not going to kill them. So maybe they believe plants are going to kill them, but fruit is okay. So keep eating fruit. When it comes to keto, I think that you could do keto very well. And some keto people eat a variety of vegetables. Like they put me to shame. So bravo. But there are other alternatives. So we're going to look at other alternatives. So that's not like a terrible thing, I'm going to say. But of course, me, the plant girl, I want you to eat more plants. Okay, the next option John talks about is surgery. Now, I have linked a link in the description from a woman named Shalu Izadi. She's a beautiful woman who is a psychologist and she helps people with addictions. And now she used to be a binge eater and she is on Diary of a CEO with this epic interview. So graceful. She is the author of The Kindness Method. Basically, we need to be more kind to ourselves. But she underwent a surgery because she was overweight. So John says, number one, surgery, staple part of the stomach. That is one option. Now, Sharu had this. She had a terrible outcome in terms of like eating too much, and she busted that staple open and had to have emergency surgery. So, of course, there are risks with all surgeries, going to a hospital for anything like that. Number two, there's another one where we are isolating a portion of the small intestine out of the normal flow of food, causing malabsorption of the foods consumed. Now, when we are eating food, after it passes through our stomach, it goes through our small intestine, and that's where the majority of the nutrients are stripped from the small intestine, that part of the gastrointestinal tract, and it's going into our bloodstream. And once it goes into the bloodstream, of course, it's flooding our entire bodies. And the body is then sending those nutrients in their perfect amounts to wherever your body may need it most. This is happening within seconds. So, what a fascinating thing. And so, I have to remind you again, because many people are like, this is great that it will work for this person and that person. It's not going to work for me. It's going to work for you because you too are human with a GI tract. And that's how your small intestine works. Now, if we go in through surgery and we remove or isolate a part of that, and John says it's going to affect the level of absorption of the food that we're eating, that makes a lot of sense, right? So there are obviously issues with that, but hospitals, in my recent experience with the hospital and looking around, there are a lot of sick people, and it's just a place where you just don't want to be. So when it comes to helpful surgeries, that might help. It might help. I'm not going to say it won't, but apparently the studies show that it doesn't help long term when it comes to those types of surgeries. So I think changing some meals, much less extreme than going to the hospital, right, and changing our bodies. So I'm going to put a big note to this. And we're going to separate this. And now he also talks about surgeries. I mean, not surgeries, choices. The fact that we have so many choices today. Now, he asks, like, a lot of people think that there's something wrong with them. Like, I am addicted to food, or I can't control myself, or there comes a period of the day, or when I'm stressed out, the food is always there for me. Just like my cigarettes or my drinks. You know, it's just always there. It doesn't talk back. It's great company. But at the end of the day, is the result something that is adding to the quality of your life? If it is, great. If it's causing issues, you got to look at that, right? We're unpacking this. Now, I love how John says the problem isn't our desire to eat, fill in the blanks, pizza one every single night for dinner, if I could. The problem is what we eat. And when we unpack that a little bit, what we eat, when we look at the world today, the direct mail that I get in my house, in my mailbox, the billboards that I see, all the ads on YouTube, on TV, on the radio, everywhere you go outside where there are restaurants and you smell their food, everything seems to be deep fried, heavily salted. It's just a sea of temptation. And now if you're on the healthy living train and this is new, that's going to be really, really hard. I promise you it gets really easy. It gets so easy to the point where it does become automated and you can go anywhere and find food that you can eat. Almost anywhere. The world has gotten a lot better in that case. But we have to remember that it's not our desire and our yearning and our cravings for those things. Okay? It is what we actually take action on. So one of my favorite sayings is that people love to hear good news about their bad habits, don't we? Because we want more reasons as to why those bad habits are okay for us. But I think that we intrinsically know in our guts, we know if there's something that is hurting us and hurting our lifestyle. And so I'm not ever the one to say, like, stop that completely. I'm the one to say, hit pause so we can think about it with clarity of mind and truly make choices that are going to serve us. Okay. So when it comes to choices, though, I think that this is a good thing. Instead of thinking about choices as like bad, 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 there are so many good choices today when it comes to alternatives. So when it comes to fake meats, this is a question that I do often get is there's so many fake meats on the market, fake cheeses. Do you recommend that? Is that better than, like, let's say the real thing? I'm going to say no. That's what the McDougall team will also say. I was very surprised to hear them say that. I heard Anthony Lim, our medical director, amazing doctor. He said that he would rather see us eat a nice piece of wild salmon than a mock meat burger. That blew me away. I was like, wow, I thought that this guy was like a hardcore vegan and they're here to like save the planet. But he is a medical doctor and he's concerned about our physical health. So that was just really nice and interesting to hear. Now, some doctors think, like I've heard Michael Greger, say that it's better for you to eat the mock meat because it is a transitionary period for you to go from eating that all the time to eating the fake stuff to then not eating the fake stuff because you're no longer going to need it. So if you're in a restaurant, you'd rather eat a vegan burger, have fun, but just don't make it a regular occurrence, right? It's still a highly processed food. But I'm very impressed with how far we've come. So bravo to all the food scientists and the marketers and the salespeople there. Ultimately, it comes down to whether we are educated or not, right? So we got to get educated. And when we are educated, we can also then make better choices, like what we just talked about with that food. So education, when I think about John, and I think, you know what? He actually retired many, many years ago, and yet he still continued to work. And every time that I have had a call with him, he was technically a retired physician, but yet this guy is so on it, and he's just so feverishly happy about just spreading his message and helping people. And what he was, first and foremost, after he retired as a physician, is he was an educator, an amazing educator. So I think that that is so important. Obviously, John will also say what is essential to us are three things: air, water, food. He says in the book, when it comes to air, without air for 3 minutes, we will lose life. Without water for 3 days, we will lose life. When it comes to food, 3 weeks to 3 months without food, and we die. So when it comes to the power of hunger, chapter 2, the McDougall Program for maximum weight loss, when it comes to the power of hunger, it is our innate wisdom. And we cannot deny it, we cannot control it, and we cannot win. So your innate hunger is there to keep us alive. That's essentially his point. It's there to keep us alive. Now, Adrian, actually, you mentioned that the potato is very, very low in omega 3s. And I looked it up after your question and I was like, what the heck? So I started inputting a higher quantity of the potato to see that omega 3 number light up. And I thought, maybe this is not the magic pill because there are no omega 3s. So, Adrian, thank you for saying that. Joel Furman said that there are trace amounts. Trace amounts. So, is it an optimal magic pill? Yes, I'm going to say yes. Should we only eat potatoes and drink water every day? No. Was that ever Dr. McDougall's intention? No. But when we're overwhelmed, if we're kind of desperate and we really need to get things right and we just want to try and test his theory, then try it. You're not going to eat like that forever. So, it's also interesting when it comes to this: air, water, and food. These are like essentials. This is like if we are in a really, really serious, stressful state, and let's say we don't have access to food or a lot of access to things that are in our daily life. then his point is these are the things that we just need. And so obviously we have to figure out the food part, because air, we don't regulate air or what type of air or how much air. I don't measure the air. When it comes to water, John has said that people drink too much water. So people ask him, how much water should I be drinking? And he says, again, to lean in. These are not his words. He would never have said innate wisdom. But that's how I understand it, right? And so when we are innately thirsty, that's when you drink. And that was his answer. When you're thirsty, you drink. That's how much water you should drink. And he will give his example with the air. Now, where we get into trouble, of course, is the food. But you are a very educated, intelligent person, and you are furthering your education. And that's where this is my crew, right? Because as soon as we are educated, we are empowered. And when we are educated, all of these things could be good things for us. Okay, they're not going to be bad. They're not going to be lost causes. They're not going to be us trying to trick Mother Nature. But the more we learn, the more empowered we are to make the right choices that are going to affect our lives in the right way. Okay, so when it comes to this part, I have a little hack for you. So the little hack is that I'm going to open up the fasting circle again. Typically, I only do this in the spring and the fall, but I'm going to open up something a little bit different. Now, this I'm calling the catalyst, because if you give me 3 months, I'm opening up a program where we are going to go into a DIY fasting mimicking diet once a month for 3 months, starting in August. Our first group fast is going to be August 12th to 16th. I'm going to have a free call where you can ask your specific questions. I'm going to review our menu very quickly, just high-level tips and tricks. There's so much to talk about when it comes to this, but this is called a catalyst because if you have kind of a long way to go in your health journey, this is a forever journey, FYI, but the catalyst is truly a very powerful springboard that can just jumpstart things in a remarkable way. Now, you don't have to do that, and I want to say that John would say just stick to my rules. And my rules, he would say, is eat your starch, eat your non-starchy vegetables, and make sure it's about a half and half split. So half starch, half non-starchy veg. And just keep eating like that, and you will see the pounds come off. 100% true. I have found that the party people in my life, the people that I tend to draw in, and maybe this is just human nature, we want really quick results. And so my promise to you is that if you were to join our Catalyst program and just do your best, some people will start the fast, and actually there's a very high percentage of people that do not finish the fast. And that's why the group circles are so important, because the chances of you finishing the fast increase dramatically when we're doing it together. It's also way more fun to do it together. So yeah, once a month, doing those fasts. In between those fasts, we are going to adopt the principles of the McDougall Program, whether they be for maximum weight loss or not. If you're not on a weight loss journey, all we got to do is get the food into us, okay? We're going to focus on the food. As the McDougall say, it's the food. What's the food? Well, the food has gotten us into a lot of trouble, but different kinds of food are going to get us out of it and allow us to live truly an amazing, abundant life. Now, after those 3 months, and along those 3 months, of course, I will handhold you through the process, and I'll be available for as much support as I am able to give and as you need. And that is going to lead us into the holidays, which is typically when people just go kind of buck wild. By then, we will have 3 months of practice. You will have this down pat. You will know how you are feeding yourself on a weekly basis. You will also know how to not be an extremist. We're not going to be extremists. We are not going to become vegans unless you want to. But my point is that you are still going to maintain all the things that you love to do and eat. But I'm telling you right now, the quantity of that is going to go down, and it's just temporary. So I just want you to do this for 3 months. Carry 90% of those good habits into the holidays. And then next year, we're going to start moving our bodies. So here's the good thing. And I love that John also said this. Exercise is included in the protocol, but it's not a big part. And that exercise is just like walk, like move your body. Like even the brain docs will say like standing is better than sitting. Walking on the spot, better than standing. But we're gonna eventually move our bodies. By then, your body's gonna feel so good that you're gonna want to move your bodies. You're gonna be so. It's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different state of physical wellness, and you will understand this innate wisdom right here. This innate wisdom along this journey. So much is going to be fueled, and you're going to understand how powerful your body is. And when it is fueled well, it operates on a different level. So, yeah, that is that. John will say at the end of this chapter that in nutritional terms, this means that all removable fats and oils in your diet must be replaced with carbohydrate. That's what we just did. We just did that here. And I'm telling you, this is actually a really good salad. And I'm not normally into things that are low fat. I am more of a high fat plant-based girl, but that is totally delicious and it doesn't need any more fat. If you want to add a whole food plant fat, you could add avocados. But he says carbohydrates, your hunger drive is satisfied by carbohydrates. So the power of hunger, our innate wisdom, we're going to respect and honor that hunger. We're going to feed that hunger. We're going to feed that hunger in the optimal way with salads like that. And we're not going to feed and satisfy our hunger by fat because carbohydrates are the basic fuel of cellular metabolism. Carbohydrates maintain the body and provide energy. This is the other secret of hunger. Your body wants carbohydrates more than any other component of your food. And it will urge you to eat and eat and eat until it gets an adequate supply of them. So when your body has sufficient carbohydrates, the hunger drive turns off. And you will see this. Also because it has fiber and it's a whole plant, it's going to sustain us for longer periods of time. All right, so carbohydrates is 4 times less concentrated in calories than the typical American diet. Even if you happen to eat more carbohydrate calories than you need, then burned off as heat, body heat. Also, the brain uses 80% of the carbs that we consume. Or it's stored invisibly as glycogen, which are chains of sugar stored in the muscles and liver for later use, rather than as fat. Rich foods must become special again, reserved for festive occasions. So that's the deal. If you want to come along this journey and join the program, and join the club, it is called the Catalyst Program. It's going to run for 3 months. So I do require some dedication. I want people who need a little help. Some people, just read the book and just apply it yourself and Bob's your uncle. But many of us need that added support. And we also want to have fun along the way. So, one of the key lessons that I've learned this year, directly from loss of people that I care about very deeply, is don't wait. This is a message that has just been ringing so strong through my being. And that message is don't wait. Shamefully, I will say that John has even sent me 2 emails as I'm looking for our email exchanges. I tried to look for this one. I couldn't find it, but twice, he wrote, don't wait. He literally wrote that. And he was talking about this, like share his message. And he urges all of us to do that. Each of us have a talent. I have a marketing background. So I should use that background and I should use any capability that I have. I'm also a very good support person. And so people will continue to reach out to me and want to join the club. And so, hey, if I can host a club for you and hold that space, as they say, build that container and allow people to come in and suspend our judgment, that is a key component of our club. As humans, we naturally judge. That's just what we do. But I'm not some person who's like, you know, almighty or anything like that. I've got my own struggles. I'm on my own journey. But it's all right. It's a fun ride, and I invite you to check it out. So I will add that link in the description to join that free call and ask your questions. Okay, so that is going to happen in August. Otherwise, you can always ping me, send me a note. But yeah, thank you for joining us. And now that I'm finishing off, of course, the children are quiet. But yeah, I'm going to probably add some cherry tomatoes to this, maybe a little bit of heat, some dried chili flakes, and we're going to go for a swim. So, on that note, join me next week, and we're going to learn more about little hacks that we can use to get on this health train. All right. So, with that, thank you again. Thank you to Bettina. What I wanted to tell you is that you said you encouraged me to continue on these longer, long form videos, and I really appreciate that. And I got to tell you that our space is a little bit different because we are not the TikToks of the world. Um, I like that speedy stuff, but sometimes we do need to slow our roll. So, with that calm energy, it is a time to slow down and a time to reflect. And Bettina, when you said this is like, we can't just do a 180 switch overnight, 1000%. What I've learned from working with people is that people take time. People take time. So if I booked, you know, 15-minute call with somebody, it's emotional, it's something that takes time. It could be half an hour later, it could be an hour later. What I continually learn is that yes, people need time. And so if you are someone who is like, get to the point and hurry up in 10 minutes and get off this video, then there are a couple of things you can do. You can look for somebody else, somebody who doesn't drone on and unpack things the way we're unpacking things. You can also listen to this at 2 times the speed. So it's one of my favorite functions. Click that little icon dial and increase it to 2 times speed. And that way you're getting the information. If you make a comment like that, obviously you find the information relevant enough that you think that you're going to gain some value out of it. This is good. This is very good. This makes me happy. But to Bob, I thank you. I kind of felt like you're my YouTube coach, and you're right. I could offer methodologies, which I have. We have looked at a list of things, our choices of how to drop weight, get healthy, what have you. Lots of issues here. This is the only issue is when we have an extreme kind of diet. So we don't want to be an extremist when it comes to how we are nourishing ourselves, right? If we limit it too much, then that could be a problem. Now, if I were the audience, I would say, well, what about this potato? What if I just do a potato and water diet? That's an extreme diet. It's not something that I recommend. And listen, Mary was the cook at the home, and she believed in non-starchy vegetables. She believed in variety. I literally saw her and John have it out a little bit. It was adorable. But she believed in having a variety of food. And that's what a lot of other doctors say. So we're not going to go extreme. Whatever kind of diet you want to eat. Tell me your goals, and we'll work together. Um, Willpower, all these things, they can all serve us very well in many ways, but ultimately, the most important thing is to get educated, empowered, and obviously experiment with a bunch of yummy foods. So that's what I'm going to do next week. I'm going to have a new recipe. We're going to dig something else out of this book. The reason why I specifically chose this recipe is because it's not on the McDougall website, which is drmcdougall.com, but it's delicious. And by looking at the recipe, I could tell that it's delicious. I also like that it's versatile. Okay, so with that, have a great day, and see you next time. Bye.